Hello and welcome back. First off, we crushed it last night at UFC KC. Ian Machado Gary gets it done against Carlos Prates. It was an amazing fight. It did go the distance, but it kind of played out the way we had thought it was going to play out. Ian Machado Gary proves that he is a superior striker. He definitely belongs at the top of that division. And Prates, even though he did lose the match, I don't feel like he lost any stock. But we had a 12 and 2 evening. We crushed on our bets. Everything hit. So feeling pretty good about today. We are going to get right into UFC Des Moines, Iowa. We've got Corey Sandhagen taking on Davidson Figueiredo. This one's going to be a good one, but I've got some definite picks in this one that I absolutely love. Want to get this out there. I have no bets on this one yet, but we will be putting in some. I'm waiting on some of these numbers to kind of adjust, and there's a couple definite surefire picks that I absolutely love in this one, so I'm waiting on a couple things to be put out before I even pull the trigger on my bets. But stick with me. This is Be All In Sports. My name is Brady. We are back again breaking down another UFC event. Let's get right into it. First up, we're going to have a women's flyweight matchup between Juliana Miller and Ivana Petrovic. This matchup comes down to, for me, just who I see as the better fighter in this one. It's going to be Ivana Petrovic. I'm picking. I don't trust Juliana Miller. I I have not been impressed with her as far as her matches that she has had in the UFC. Her matches that she had on the Ultimate Fighter, yeah, they were not that bad. They prove that she does have a little bit of a dog in her, but then when she faces top or a little bit better competition in the UFC, it just doesn't work out that way for her. She's also terrible at takedown defense from what I used to see. She is training at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, so maybe she's improved a little bit in that realm and maybe improved in the jiu-jitsu, but it's been about a year and 8 months from the last time we have seen her even perform in the octagon, and I just can't trust somebody, especially in women's flyweight matchup, who is that far removed from the octagon. And the last time I did see Juliana Miller, she was dealing with a civilian issue where somebody was filming her and she didn't appreciate it. So she was kind of threatening them. I think that was the last time I saw her on film. So I'm taking Ivana Petrovic in this matchup. I think this is another one that goes long. Ivana Petrovic doesn't take a lot of damage. And she does have a good ground game, and she probably will be able to get the takedowns when she wants them in this matchup. I look for it to be more of a control situation. So I'm taking Ivana Petrovic to win this matchup. Next up in the heavyweight division, we have Don'Tale Mayes taking on Thomas Peterson. I will say right from the get-go, I'm not very impressed with either one of these guys. I don't think they bring much to the heavyweight division. Thomas Peterson, he does have a little bit more of that dog fight in him than Don'Tale Mayes from what I've seen. Don'Tale Mayes is coming off two losses in his last couple matches. He fought Famil Gaziv, and then he also had a matchup against Walter Walker. He went out pretty quick in that Walter Walker to submission, got that heel hook going. He looked pretty frustrated. I know that he's got some high level training partners, but it's just not translating to him getting wins in the UFC. He's taking on Thomas Peterson, who did also come off that last win or that last loss to Shamil Gaziv. He ended up getting knocked out. That was only 2 months ago. I'm not entirely happy with the fact that you've got a guy coming in the heavyweight division who's facing somebody else who does have a little bit of pop to their punches and is the bigger fighter in this one. He's got a 6'6" height advantage to a 6'1" height advantage, or 6'6" to 6'1" in the height advantage here. He is going to have a little bit of a reach advantage as well. I think it's going to be tough for Peterson to get this to the ground where he's best, and I don't think the stand up is going to go very well for him because he's going to be overexerting himself in this in order to get to Mays, I believe, and Mays does a pretty good job at keeping distance. So I'm going to go with Dante Mays in this one. I don't have odds on this. I kind of think that he might be the underdog when this comes out. So I'm going to take Dante Mays to win this matchup. I don't think there's going to be a finish because neither one of these guys to me have a lot of finishing power. But I just like Dante Mays. I like his ability to keep this on the feet. If he keeps it standing, I think he's probably going to be the better striker between the two of them. Like I said, he does have some pretty high level training partners. I'm not familiar with who Peterson's training with right now, I'll be honest, but I just think that Dante Mays, this is the one where he can finally get that win. I know you know that he's been frustrated with not getting it the last two matches. He probably felt that the last one especially was a winnable matchup if he could take it the distance, but it didn't go that way for him. He got subbed quick. I don't think Peterson's got the ability to sub him quick in this one if he even gets it to the ground where it's going to be his advantage. But I'm going Dante Mays in this one. Thomas Peterson's tough, so I'm not gonna. I don't think there's gonna be a finish. This is actually one of those heavyweight matches that I don't think finishes. So I'm taking Dante Mays to win this by decision. Next, a battle of bantamweights. We've got Gaston Bolaños taking on Kwong Lee. Kwong Lee, as we know, came in on the short notice fight that he had against Chris Gutierrez when they were looking for a replacement opponent. He didn't do too bad in that one. That was a decision, but Chris Gutierrez goes to decision with everybody. So I'm not, the fact that he didn't get knocked out by Chris Gutierrez is not that big of a deal. He did get knocked out in his next fight, which was only 5 months ago, to Long Zhao. That was a decent fight up until the fact that it wasn't for him, and then that striking just got him. On the other hand, he is going against Gaston Bolaños. Gaston Bolaños is a pretty high level striker who just hasn't really gotten a lot of ground yet in the UFC, but he has had a lot of amateur bouts as far as kickboxing goes, Muay Thai type fighter. His striking is top level. He just hasn't had the opportunity, I don't think, and fought the level of competition to where he's at. He is fairly new to that UFC game or the UFC still. And I think the farther he gets on in his career, he's going to start improving, making those improvements that he needs to. He was former Bellator when he came in, and then he did beat Aaron Phillips on this first match when he got to the UFC. That was a unanimous decision. He did show off some pretty decent striking in there, so not going to take away from it. But Aaron Phillips was, I believe, coming in on short notice himself, and he's was not a UFC level fighter at that point. He hadn't really trained for UFC. I think he was coaching wrestling at the time that he came in. So I'm not going to put too much there. And then he had the loss in his next one to Marcus McGee. That's high level fighter Marcus McGee. We haven't seen him in a while now, but I would definitely rank that pretty high. The fact that you lost to Marcus McGee, it was not going his way the whole fight, not gonna lie, but he ended up getting finished towards the end of that fight, and he proved that he's pretty durable. And then he came out the last match. He looked good against Cortavius Romeus, so I'm gonna put a little bit of stock in that, even though Cortavius hasn't proven that he's a very high level competition as far as UFC goes. I'm gonna I'm gonna take Gaston Bolaños. At first, I was looking at Kwong Lee, thinking maybe this is one that I can pick, but in the end, Gaston just when I'm watching tape on him, I just think that he's got more durability there. I think that he avoids damage better, and I think that Kwong Lee gets hit way too much, and I think that Gaston is going to hit him. So I'm taking Gaston Bolaños. I think there's going to be a knockout in this one. I think Gaston gets it done, and I think he serves up Kwong Lee's second knockout in his second fight. If you have not yet, what are you doing? Hit the like and subscribe because we do this every week. I put out picks and give you my bets, my parlays. This last week we just went 12 and 2. I crushed it with all of my parlays. We were hitting plus 500s, plus 100s, plus 200s, 300s, everything in between. Everything was hitting. Look, picks aren't going to be perfect. You're obviously going to miss some, but we're getting on a very very good track record. So join me while I'm putting out these UFC picks. I'm putting out basketball picks for the playoffs. I'm putting out MLB picks that are hitting. I'm putting out NHL picks right now. We had a bad day with the NHL, but I don't put out very much there. So join me, please hit the like and subscribe. Leave me your comments on these. The UFC is where I mainly try and stick to and do the biggest breakdowns, put out those long play videos. So every week we are here. We're going to keep bringing you the most content, the picks, everything. I'll put it out to you. But let's get right into the next match. Next, we have a women's strawweight matchup. We have Marina Rodriguez, however you say that, taking on Jillian Robertson. This is going to be a matchup that at first I was looking for every way to take Marina. Um, I just can't get there. Jillian Rodriguez has the wrestling. She has excellent takedowns, and her top control is top notch. Rodriguez does not have good takedown defense. Everybody that wants to take her down takes her down. So while the striking is good, I just don't think that she is going to be able to keep it on the feet. When Jillian Rodriguez finally does get in there, whether it's the first, second round, whenever it is, I, I I don't see a finish necessarily because I think Rodriguez has decent skills enough on the ground to at least keep her from getting finished. Actually, I take that back. I think Jillian Robertson actually is going to finish this by submission. I'm going to revert on that because Jillian Robertson has excellent ground skills, and I don't think that it's going to. I think that eventually she's going to end up taking her down and have enough control time that she's going to put her in a bad spot and she's going to get that submission finish that she's looking for. This would be a pretty high level win for Jillian Robertson. She has won her last three matchups, but it hasn't been against this type of competition. Somebody that has faced what I call consider higher level competition. Marina Rodriguez, she has fought the higher level competition, but again, it's all about the takedowns. It's all about who she's facing in this one. And Jillian Robertson does have excellent wrestling. And I think that she is, like I said, going to be able to get this to the ground. And once she does, I think if she gets it there a couple times, couple different rounds, she's going to end up wearing out Rodriguez, who, by the way, is 38 years old too. So again, I'm going Jillian Robertson in this matchup. I think that she gets it done. I think it's going to be a submission in the, I'm going to say, second round. Enough that they're not sweaty enough that it's going to prevent her from getting it, but I don't think she gets it super early. So I think it goes a little bit, but I think eventually she's going to wear on her. She's going to get it done. Robertson for the submission victory in this one. Next, in the middleweight division, we have UFC Ultimate Fighter alum Ryan Loder, who ended up winning the last season of the Ultimate Fighter. He's taking on Azamat Bikoev. This is going to be a wrestling matchup, obviously, because Ryan Loder is in this matchup. I think Bikoev is going to be the better striker out of the two. There's not much of a size advantage here, and Bakoev, I feel, was very impressive when he came in the last match on short notice against Zach Reese. He was brought in as that replacement. He ended up looking really good in that matchup, got the ground and pound victory there. And Ryan Loder, seeing what Robert Valentin did against Torres Finney, it, he doesn't have good takedown defense, and Ryan Loder is a good wrestler. So that whole thing kind of played out the way we thought it would play out. Robert Valentin was just deficient in that wrestling prowess. He didn't have the game to keep up with Ryan Loder. But you've got a whole different matchup in this one. Azamat Bakoev, on the other hand, I believe does have the wrestling chops to keep up with Ryan Loder. I think he's got the takedown defense. I don't think Loder's going to be able to get it to the ground where he's going to have the most success. His striking is something to be desired. I don't think he lasts a chance against Bakoev in the striking department. So I'm going to take Bakoev to get this done. I think he's going to knock Ryan Loder out. I don't think that Ryan Loder is going to be able to keep up with him. I think once he stuffs a few takedowns and he realizes that he cannot get it to the ground. That's going to be what it takes to lower the confidence level. And I think Bakoev takes over in later rounds. I think he's going to get a late second round knockout in this one. I'm going Azamat Bakoev. Easy win. Next, we have a women's bantamweight matchup involving a legend in the women's bantamweight division in Misha Cupcake Tate taking on Yana Santos. At at this stage, I do very highly. I like Misha Tate. I've always liked Misha Tate. I've got a lot of respect for her game, how she performs. I've always been a fan of her, and in this one, she's taking on Yana Santos. Not entirely that impressed with Yana Santos. She's a hit or miss. She has had some losses in her UFC career, and they're coming against some pretty high level fighters. They're mostly going to be high level strikers though. And her last matchup against Chelsea Chandler, as we're seeing, Chelsea Chandler just doesn't have a lot of great ability when it comes to what she's doing. My cat is going crazy in the other room, so I apologize for that. I'll go check on him in 1 second. But in this matchup, I got to stick with Yana Santos. I got to take Yana Santos, even though I do love Misha Tate. I'm a fan. I just think that she's a little bit past what she was. It's been a year and 4 months since we've seen her. And Yana Santos, even though that win against Chelsea Chandler, as we saw last night, isn't going to add anything to your credit necessarily because Chelsea Chandler's not that great. And the fact that you went to decision with her does say something. I mean, that's not very good. And you're taking on Misha Tate, who is pretty powerful, and this could go either way. So I don't want to bet this fight, but I'm going to pick the underdog in this one. I think if it goes long, I think she's got the ability. She could keep it on the ground a little bit. It could be a back and forth, and decisions always go different ways sometimes. So I think Yana Santos can get this done by decision. Obviously, that's the only way I'm going to see it. If Misha Tate gets her back, yes, she's very capable of getting that submission win, but I'm just going to side with the slight underdog in this one. I could see odds flipping, but it's more due to the fact that Misha Tate has been away from the octagon for so long, and she is 38 years old compared to Santos, who is 35. But again, I think that's going to play into a little bit of a factor. And Yana Santos has been the more active fighter out of the two. So I'm going to go Yana Santos for the underdog play on this one. Next up and kicking off the main card of this one, we've got Jeremy Stevens returning to the lightweight division to take on Mason Jones. Um, I'm excited to see this fight. One, I am a Jeremy Stevens fan. I loved watching him while he was in the BKFC. I've enjoyed that run that he's had. I also wanted to see him get back into the UFC. I think that he was cut when he kind of didn't deserve to be because he does always put on exciting fights. He's always a dog in these fights. He very few times does he get knocked out. And he has proven again that he's got some pretty decent boxing skills and is extremely tough because of his run in the BKFC. He's taken on Mason Jones. Mason Jones is also a very high level fighter. I've seen the time that I was most impressed with Mason Jones was when he took on David Onama and got that win. I thought that was a very ruled out matchup there that proved that he does have some very high level skills across the board in MMA. This matchup again, even though I would love to take Jeremy Stevens in this matchup, and this is the return for Mason Jones to the UFC. Think the second stint's going to be pretty successful. I don't think he looked bad on his first one, and he went to Cage Warriors and proved that he can definitely get the wins there as well. He's won, I believe, all of his matchups by finish up to this, well, except for his last matchup. He has won all those matchups in Cage Warriors up until this last one. To basically um the ground and pound. He had the ground and pound victory. He had the TKO victory, and he had the victory against Bryce Logan. And then he went to unanimous decision against Michael Pagani in his last fight. Now, this has got him back in the UFC, and I feel like this is going to be a pretty successful run for him as well. Again, he's coming in pretty tough against UFC former UFC veteran in Jeremy Stevens. Then he went over to the PFL. That PFL run it's over 2 years ago since he's actually had an MMA fight, and I think that's going to prove the difference in this one. Mason Jones is actively fighting MMA matches, while Stevens may be the better one on his feet, and he's going to have to bring out the dog in this one. I'm going to be honest because I think this is a fight that can go either way, and I'm not quite sure on the odds here. Mason Jones, yes, he has some advantages across the board as far as his overall ability to do what has to be done as far as the MMA floor goes. Takedown wise, might be there for him. But if Jeremy Stevens keeps us on the feet, he's always live to get a finish. And I wouldn't put it past him to make this very interesting. But I have to go with what I'm seeing as far as watching the tape and knowing where these guys are and what they've been doing here actively. Mason Jones is going to be the younger fighter, and I think that he's going to end up getting this done. Jeremy Stevens is coming in on a one fight contract, so he's going to be motivated because if he gets a win, it may lead to bigger things for him. I don't know if he's going back to BKFC, what he's going to do just yet. But I got to take Mason Jones in this one. I don't like the odds, so I'm not going to put anything on it, but Mason Jones gets this one done. Most likely, I would say it's going to be by decision. Next up in the bantamweight division, we have two fairly newcomers to the bantamweight division. Siri City taking on Cameron Smotherman. Smotherman is the one that is more of a green prospect, I guess, to the bantamweight division. Siri City has this is going to be his what third fight in second yeah third fight in the UFC. The only thing is he's taken on Ramon Tavares already twice since he's come to the UFC. He faced him in that Contender Series matchup, which it was he did get the KO, but it was a weird stoppage, so they ended up running that one back, and he ended up losing a split decision to Ramon Tavares. And then his last matchup, which was about 5 months ago now, he did get that split decision win against Garrett Armfield. That fight probably could have been seen as going either way in that one. Not sure. It's when you're dealing with a split decision like that, and the judges how horrible they sometimes are, you kind of always have to kind of wonder who's seeing that which way. So I don't like split decisions. I don't like going off split decisions. On the other hand, we got Cameron Smotherman, who he had his Contender Series loss. He got knocked out by Grigos, or who was that? Um Shiralampos Gregorio, which looking back on it now, that might not have been the greatest. That might not have been the best loss there. Getting knocked out by him, and then seeing what he went on to do. He didn't look that great in his last matchup. He did get the Cameron Smotherman did get the win, though his last matchup out by decision against Jake Hadley. So we're going to see how this one plays out. Jake Hadley is no longer in the UFC. He's now over, I believe he went to the PFL. So he did get a win in his last matchup. So it's not exactly the most terrible thing that I've ever seen. The fact that you're getting a win against Jake Hadley. He had some wins in the UFC. He didn't look bad all the time. This going against Siri City though, this matchup can go either way. Yes, Cameron Smotherman has proven that he's tough, he's durable, but I think, in my opinion, when I watch Series City, I think that he has some skills on the ground. I think he can get it to the ground when need be, and I think that this is going to be one of those fights where I just see him controlling the matchup. I think that he's going to end up getting him on the ground and possibly taking his back and ended up just controlling the matchup in that realm. So I think this is going to be more of a ground matchup where City's best chance is to get it on the ground, control it from the ground. We've seen Smotherman does have some deficiencies there. You got to wear down his energy, and that's the best way to do it. If City can't control it there, I think that he might be the better striker out of the two as well. Cameron Smotherman can get a little bit wild and throw it all out there, so to speak. And City, I believe, is going to end up fighting him with that jab more. I think he's going to throw it out there a little bit more useful. And I see City getting a decision win in this one. So I'm going Series City. I think he is right now the favorite. I would wait if you're gonna put a bet in on something like this. I would wait because those odds I could definitely see him switch because I think a lot of people are gonna be siding with Cameron Smotherman when it rolls down to it. But I'm taking Series City in this one. I think he gets it done by decision. Next in the main card, we have a battle again of bantamweights. We have Daniel Marcos taking on Montel Jackson. I'm pretty pumped about this matchup because I think it's going to be a really good one. Montel Jackson has proven that he is a force, especially since we just saw Damon Blackshear look excellent last night. Remember, he knocked out Damon Blackshear. Okay, so I know that I don't like doing the MMA math. I'm not big on that. But when you have a fighter of his level, when he's going to have a height and a reach advantage, and plus how many fights are we going to see Daniel Marcos win continuously? I think that a lot of his fights are coming down to decisions, and I think they're always kind of close. And I'm not going to trust that you're going to continue to keep doing this and getting by with these decision victories, especially in the UFC, where you see decisions go either way all the time. Montel Jackson, on the other hand, he is at least finishing some of his fights here. He's not the highest level of competition against some of these guys, except I will say that Damon Blackshear is one of the highest level in the bantamweight division right now. I think he's going to go far. So for you to have a win over him, I'm going to take that into consideration. And the fact that I've been saying 17-0 for Daniel Marcos is overshooting the moon in my eyes. I do not think that he is that great, and I think that it's going to start showing once you start stepping up in the competition. And in my mind, he's not going to have a wrestling advantage in this one or a grappling edge. He's going to be undersized as far as the height advantage and the reach advantage, and I think that he's going to have a disadvantage when it comes to speed. So I'm taking Montel Montel Jackson. My God, I'm taking Montel Jackson in this matchup. I think he's got all the ways to win here. I'm not buying the 17-0, and I feel pretty strongly about it. Now, I'm holding off on putting a bet in because it does keep shifting towards Montel Jackson, and it may keep shifting that way. And I will pull the trigger eventually, but Montel Jackson's going to be my pick. I'm hoping that more people will start hitting up Daniel Marcos because right now he is the underdog in this matchup, and I believe it's with justified. I think it's justified that he is the dog in this matchup, and I think Montel Jordan is going to prove that he is the better fighter. I think he's the better striker. I think he's faster, and I think he has advantages on the ground if it goes there. So I'm taking Montel Jackson. I'm pretty confident in this pick, as you can tell by what I'm saying. So definite bet is going to be in on Montel Jackson, whether it's a parlay piece or whether it is just a single bet. We're going to see how that goes. But I'm taking Montel Jackson to beat Daniel Marcos and give him his first loss in the UFC and on his record. Next, we have a welterweight matchup between Santiago Ponzinibbio and Daniel Rodriguez. I'm a Daniel Rodriguez fan in this one. I'm picking Daniel Rodriguez right off the get-go. I'm not going to mince it. I think that he's going to have the stand-up advantages. I like the fact that he pumps out that jab, and I think that Ponzinibbio's main thing is going to be the movement, the constant movement back and forth. I don't put that much stock in the fact that you finished Carlston Harris before. He was the underdog, and I think it might have switched by the time that fight rolled around. He might have been the favorite in that fight. The thing about that fight is he went for it and he got it. I don't think you're going to be able to go for it in this one because I think Daniel Rodriguez's boxing is better. It's higher level. He has a style where he will walk you down and he's going to stay constantly in your face and pump out that jab. Ponzinibbio is going to try the back and forth movements, a lot more activity on the feet, and I don't think he's going to be going for takedowns necessarily, and I don't think he's going to be able to get them. He expends too much energy, and while these guys are they're the same age, so I don't think age is going to play a factor, even though they're both getting up there at that 38. Ponzinibbio has had more battles. He's gone through more fights. He's definitely on the experience level. I would go Ponzinibbio, but the simple fact that he's losing a lot of these decisions that he's in, and I think this is another matchup. It's primed to go the distance. Or if there's a finish, I think it would probably be on the side of Rodriguez getting a finish. But I don't think you're going to finish. I don't think you're going to finish Ponzinibbio. I think he's too good, and I don't see Rodriguez having the finishing capabilities with when it comes to Ponzinibbio and the movement. But I do look him to walk him down. I look at to him to land more of the punches. The jab I think is going to be super effective once he starts dialing it in. And I think that round two and round three, Rodriguez is going to start taking over. I'm going to take Daniel Rodriguez to get this done by decision. Next, in the middleweight division, we have the return of Bo Nickel. He's coming back. He's going to be facing the newcomer, relative newcomer to the UFC, Renier de Ritter. So this is going to be a good one, I think. I right off the rip, I'm going to take Bo Nickel. This is probably one of the first times that we've seen him not come in as a minus 1,000, and the reason is because on the striking level, he is facing somebody who definitely is probably going to be the best striking that he's seen in the UFC so far, and he may end up having some trouble on the feet. De Ritter also has some pretty decent takedown defense, but I think that you're looking at the fact that Bo Nickel just has better wrestling across the board. I think he knows how to keep himself safe. I don't think that he's going to be in danger of a submission. And I just knowing the caliber of wrestler that he is, I think he's going to be able to get this to the ground if he wants it there. And once you get inside, I think it's over. I think if he doesn't get a unanimous victory as far as like just being able to implement his wrestling game and control it throughout and go the distance, get a decision win that way, or if he gets a lucky shot and possibly lands it on the chin, keeps him on the ground, I think he's gonna maybe be in line for a submission. But ultimately, I just look for him to be more skilled as far as keeping it on the ground. I look for him to definitely try and get it there. The striking, while I do lean DeRitter on the striking edge, I think Nickel continues to improve in that realm, and I think that he's got just enough to keep himself safe. That's the one chance that I think DeRitter has in this matchup is if he can land a big shot and then possibly put something on Bo Nickel. But ultimately, I got to stick with Bo Nickel as my pick. I think he's going to get this. I think he's going to control it for 3 rounds, and I don't think that DeRitter is going to be able to do too much. I think he's going to be so worn down that his punches are going to carry a little bit less each round, and I think Nickel's going to be able to keep this where he needs it and get it done by decision. My pick, Bo Nickel by decision in this one to continue his undefeated streak on his unblemished record and in his UFC career to this point. If you have not already, please support the page, hit the like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments who you're picking in these fights. I'm getting this out as early as possible, and we will continue to follow these up. And if there's any changes, I'm definitely going to let you know. I do this every week. I put out my picks and predictions. I'll give you my bets at some point this week. So when they come in, I'll let you know. This is one fight I'm 100% going to be betting on, although I should have got in a long time ago. I first said it immediately and I was all about it. And it was a minus, I think, 278 when I said it. I just, at the time, I didn't want to wait to get the return, but now I'm kicking myself because the odds have changed so greatly. We've got in the main event a bantamweight matchup between Corey Sandhagen and Davidson Figueiredo. We know that Davidson Figueiredo, we know what he brings to the table. He was the former flyweight champion, had multiple matches against Brandon Moreno, wars. He's been in wars. He's been in the bantamweight division here, I believe, for the last couple matchups now, and it's it's in some cases it's going his way. I will say he hasn't looked bad in all these matches. But he is facing what, in my opinion, is going to be, even though he did just take a loss to Peter Yan, I think that was a high level matchup that he had there. He did lose that one. That's more where I think that this matchup is just not going to be a good one for him. I am all about Corey Sandhagen in this matchup. I like Corey Sandhagen one, so there is that fan aspect. I'm rooting for him in this matchup. But it comes down to one, his level of cardio is amazing. He trains in Denver, so we know that his cardio is going to be on point. We've never seen it not to be. He has more ways to win this matchup everywhere it goes. I think he's better on the ground. I think his striking is better than Davidson Figueiredo, and I think he's faster. His movement alone is enough for me to go ahead and give that advantage to him because he's hard to pinpoint. He's hard to hit. He's hard to get in one spot, and you're not going to out cardio him, especially Davidson Figueiredo. Even though Davidson, we're seeing that he's probably a little bit more primed in the bantamweight division because he's not having to cut weight, and I think he doesn't have those type of issues where cardio is as affected. But this is a matchup that to me you lose it everywhere it goes. I think, like I said, I think Corey Sandhagen is just a top-notch bantamweight, and I think he's definitely one of my favorite to watch. He's just skilled in every department. His ground game is on point. His striking is continuously improving, and it's on point as well. I don't think Davidson Figueiredo has a chance in this matchup. I am fully taking Corey Sandhagen. Now, as far as the betting goes, do I feel like I can't take Corey Sandhagen at minus 455? Nope. I can definitely take him at minus 455 and feel good about it in a parlay, but I'm not going to put it as a single bet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for that minus 5.5 to drop or minus 3.5. I'll probably alternate it, and I think he gets a unanimous decision win. Davidson Figueiredo, I'll give him credit. He's got a chin. He can take a punch. If this finishes, I see it's either Corey Sandhagen by submission or decision. That's the way I will go with my single bet on this one. And then I'll probably throw something in on Corey Sandhagen at a -3.5 and a -5.5 as well, just in case he does get that finish. But I think he gets a unanimous decision win here in the end. So that's where I'm leaning with this. Obviously, it's a full on Corey Sandhagen week. I'm going to parlay him with some different pieces. I think he gets this done. Fully confident. Let's go, Corey Sandhagen. That is my full breakdown for UFC Sandhagen versus Figueiredo. It's coming to you live from Des Moines, Iowa next weekend. Stay tuned because I'm going to be coming back with more picks. But thank you for joining me. I appreciate your support. Hit up the like and subscribe and let me know your picks in the comments.